What's up, Zach? Yeah, I had to start it earlier today. I mean, long story short, our game yesterday, we get down there, and whoever's job it was at the school to schedule the umpires, because it was a game that was had to get changed due to weather. So whoever's job it was to kind of reschedule the umpires didn't do it. Um, and what? And so we have to go down there again today or at an earlier time. So if I wanted to get like an hour in, I had to start it right now. So that's why we're starting like an hour earlier than normal. Kyle, you got any update on Lodi's? Will he be back this weekend? Well, I think Dusty's going to be in the chat. I can send out a text right now. In my opinion, from what I've heard, I think they're just playing it safe again, because in the national seed category, like that, does that loss to Georgia hurt? Yes. Does it hurt a whole lot? No, because they've beat a lot of really good teams. So it's not like you're, again, if it comes down to national seeding and it's like, well, Georgia won 1-0, the only game you played. It doesn't matter in some regards, yes. Does it matter in the grand scheme of things? Is it like the most important game? No. So again, like Georgia Tech has put themselves in a position where all they have to do is go 500 the rest of the way, and they're at 20 wins in the ACC, and I think a national seed, right? So I think, to me, I don't know this for sure, but from what I had heard about Lodi's injury, it was day to day, and I think they're just being they're just taking all the precautions they need to make sure that if he does come back again, because if it is in that oblique area, what the problem is, most people come back, oh, I feel pretty good, and they come back and then they re-aggravate it, and then then they have to take a longer stint, and they're out for 3 or 4 weeks. So I think probably the right choice for Georgia Tech to just kind of baby it a little bit and make sure I know he took BP yesterday, so he's got to be feeling okay. And so in my mind, if you're taking BP, that means you're probably playing this weekend. I can't say for sure. Maybe they DH him this weekend just to kind of, again, just play it safe and just not put a bunch of stress on the body. I don't know. But I think Lodi's will be back this weekend in some regard, whether it's 1 game, 2 games, or all 3. And again, I'll let you know what I hear. And then Kent Schmidt, I think it's just a matter of, it's staph infection. When it's cured, it's cured. I think that's just, and that should be, I think, relatively soon. But it doesn't hurt as much, the whole Kent Schmidt thing, because John Giesler has come back and really found his form over the last couple weekends, so you're not missing it as much. Georgia's number 1 in RPI right now. Yeah, I mean, dude, no surprise, right? You just beat number 1 team in the country, and then you beat Georgia Tech, who's a top 15 team, and obviously their record over the course of the year speaks for itself. So no surprise that Georgia's up there now at number 1. I'm checking it right now. Yeah, number 1. And again, Georgia Tech dropped 1 point. 1 place in RPI. So that's the thing, is like, and again, that midweek game, the thing about midweek games is it's kind of just a cluster. Georgia threw 10 pitchers. Georgia Tech threw a bunch of guys that are not necessarily like their go-to guys. And so in the midweek, especially against a really good team, it kind of just turned, unless you're facing an elite team like a Tennessee or in Arkansas. And again, Georgia's certainly up there. But Georgia's pitching is not quite the type of pitching that an elite team has, even though they have some good arms. It kind of, those midweek games against really good teams kind of turn into like, flip a coin. Like that's really how it ends up. Valley Baseball Scout. What's up, Valley Baseball Scout? What's the latest on the possibility of a 5th year of eligibility? Man, all of that is getting talked about right now, Valley. The thing that I've been hearing over the last couple months is that's what I think is going to end up happening, is that they're going to land on 5 years of eligibility. Yeah, but we just don't know yet. We just don't know. I mean, the House settlement still has to get approved or denied. It's looking like, I mean, there's a lot of concerns. The judge is basically saying, she's basically said she wants to see some changes to the settlement. It is sounding like current players on rosters are going to be grandfathered in, so they will not apply to the 34-man roster. Now, again, how many extra guys are you able to carry? I don't know. With the COVID guys, you could have up to 40, and as long as 5 of them were, COVID eligibility guys, whatever. GT is basically pitching their 6 through 10 pitchers on midweeks. Yeah, exactly. So again, it's like against a really good team, it's just going to be a flip of the coin. It's going to be a flip the coin, right? Because there's most teams on the midweek. You're gonna make, like, your season is determined by what you do in conference. So if you're Georgia Tech and you're 14-4 in the ACC, again, you got 12 games left. If you go 6-6, you're 20 wins in the ACC. That kind of speaks for itself in the national seed type thing, right? So the reality is, I think Georgia Tech's strategy for the remaining part of the year is just like, we just got to take care of business. If we even play like half the team we've played in conference, we're going to be 20 wins in ACC and probably a national seed. I mean, who knows? I mean, the SEC seems like they're deeper than ever this year. So we're going to have to wait and see how that pans out. Again, I can't, I'm looking at the RPI right now. You have Oregon State's at number 8 in RPI. I don't know how that's possible, right? And this is part of, you look at their RPI against Q4 and Q3 teams, they're undefeated. Against Q1, they're against Q1, they're 5-3, and against Q2, they're 4-4. So to me, I just don't get the RPI is definitely imperfect, because you have teams on here where it doesn't make sense how their RPI is higher than another team's. It just doesn't make sense. Coastal Carolina, for example, is at number 10. They're 2-6 against Q1 teams. Georgia Tech's 10-5. But they're 4 spots behind them. So RPI is one part of the equation, but it's not all of it. And I think if you get to 20 wins in the ACC, which is definitely, without a doubt, the second best conference in college baseball, and up there close to the SEC, to me, in my mind, that's just that almost has to be an instant national seed. So I think that's what Georgia Tech's strategy is. You're not going to rush back Lodi's, even if it's day to day. Oregon State with a huge win over UCLA last night. Sure, true. But again, you got to look at their record against Q2 and Q1 teams. They're 9-7. Like that. Now the same for Georgia Tech. They are 11-5. So again, to me, it's just, and you have a couple losses against Q4 for Georgia Tech, and I think that's probably Marshall. So again, don't get it twisted. RPI is one part of the equation, but it's not the whole thing. It's not the whole thing. And Georgia Tech has the highest RPI in the ACC right now as well. We pitched our 3 best relievers yesterday. Yeah, that was a good win. Big win for Miami. Miami's kind of got to play really well in all the midweeks as well now, Every time Miami has gotten to 20 wins in the ACC, we've been a national seed. Yeah, if you're if you're winning 20 of 30 games in the ACC, I think you're just kind of instantly a national seed, right? Unless, especially when you're the second best conference in as far as RPI goes in the country, right? It'd be one thing if they're the fourth or the fifth best, and it's just kind of maybe not as impressive of a win of a RPI or of a record. But to me, it's just if you're at that point, you're an instant national seed. But we have to wait and see kind of how everything plays out. Now let's look at some of these live scores, or let's look at some of these games coming up. So Thursday, Ole Miss, South Carolina. Again, if you want to talk about like now, South Carolina is basically they're 2-13. They got to go 13-2 to get to 15-15. They got to go 11-4 to get to 13-17. So South Carolina is at the point now where they're playing spoil. They're in spoil mode. South Carolina can really just mess up some people's either hosting chances or national seed chances. So like Ole Miss this weekend, South Carolina upsets, it's going to really hurt their chances at a national seed. Auburn, Texas in Austin, that'll be a massive series. Virginia, Florida State. This is a big one for Virginia because Virginia's at 9-9 in conference. They got 12 games left, so they got to go 6-6 the rest of the way to go 15-15. So they just can't. They got to avoid getting swept. Virginia has to avoid getting swept, and then obviously, split the remaining series. Big series between Louisville and Clemson this week. 100%. We're ready. Coral Gables regional, baby. I can smell it. Canes, you're the most up and down guy I've ever met. Arizona, BYU. These are all the games on Thursday. Yeah. Okay. So Clemson. I guess everybody's playing. Is everybody playing Thursday? Because of Easter? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. Yeah, Clemson, Louisville, another big one. Again, Louisville can play. Again, Louisville's number 17 in the country, but can they be? Why are we live so early today, Dusty? I explained earlier our game yesterday. We went all the way down to Landmark Christian, my high school, and it was a rescheduled game from weather a couple weeks ago. And whoever was supposed to schedule the umpires down there, looks like they didn't do it. So we're going back down there earlier today. So I had to start the stream earlier today, so I could still have like a decent amount of time on stream. But Louisville and Dusty, now that you're here, what are you hearing about Kyle Lodi's? Will he be available this weekend? Canes, we would have to win every series and probably go on a run in the ACC tournament to host a regional. Yeah, pretty much, Zach. Pretty much. Okay, yeah. So Louisville and Clemson, big series, and again, if Louisville can upset Clemson, that makes it even. It really helps Georgia Tech's chances, right? As far as winning the ACC outright. Georgia State, Southern Miss, that'll be a great game. Georgia, Vanderbilt, A&M, and Arkansas. Can A&M stay on a hot streak, especially offensively against Arkansas? I would imagine Lodi's plays this weekend. Yeah. I mean, I know he took BP yesterday. So in my mind, I think they're just playing it really safe with him because of how well they started out in ACC play. I think the strategy is just like, listen, if we go 6-6 remaining, we're 20 wins in ACC and we're a national seed. So I think the idea is that don't rush Lodi's back because rush him back too early, he re-aggravates, then it gets really bad, and then you may miss him for a larger chunk of the season. Alabama, LSU in Baton Rouge. LSU looking for a bounce back after getting swept by Auburn. Alabama looking to kind of start going a little bit of run. They're right at one game over 500 in SEC play. Now let's look at Friday. They are literally, if Warren Nolan says Coral Gables regional, then it's happening, baby. They are literally predicting us to go 15-4 in our last 19 games. They believe in the U. What? Who is, Canes? Who's predicting? Or I guess Miami does have like an easier stretch at the end, especially in ACC play. Tell Lodis this is his bye week. You don't need him for Miami. Easy sweep. I don't know if they're going to say that, man. Well, I think honestly, because you want him to play against Miami, because no offense, Miami has not played very well. And so Georgia Tech has 3 sweeps on the year right now. And with the way they've played in the ACC, you think, if you sweep Miami, like you've almost locked up a national seed, because then you have 3 series remaining and you need 3 wins to get to 20, right? So you're going to want to be at full strength against Miami because you feel like it's a team that is, if Georgia Tech plays the way they've played so far, and they've done that every weekend, it could be a sweep. Miami pipe dream, Notre Dame sweeps the Canes. Canes. Have not heard about Schmidt, and that doesn't lead me to believe its day today are even good. From what I've heard about Schmidt, it's a staph infection, and I think that just kind of like there's really not a timetable. It just has to be cleared. So I don't know. I don't know when he'll be back. We still have Georgia Tech, NC State, and Virginia left. Will all be really tough series. Yeah, true. 100%. That's, yeah, I mean, you're right, Zach. It's going to be very difficult for Miami. But they're 6-9 with 15 games to go. All right, so can they win? Can they go 9-6 remaining? Maybe. Right? 9-6 remaining means you got to win. You got to win every series but one, and you can't get swept. NC State is playing really well right now. Yeah, they are. I mean, they're definitely playing at a higher level than they were to start the year. Warren Nolan, I posted it last night on my account. They have Georgia Tech going 22-8 in ACC play. I'm assuming Georgia Tech would be the number 1 overall seed with that ACC record. Are you talking in the NCAA tournament? Or are you talking about in the ACC? For the ACC tournament? YouTube doesn't let you write Twitter for some reason. The only thing for NC State that concerns me is still offensively, they're not doing great. I mean, they're doing okay. They're hitting like 286 as a team. They're OPSing under 900. So they're just not getting on base a whole lot. They do have one guy with 39 walks and 106 at-bats, which is insane. So if you take him away, everyone else's kind of walk rates are not super high. GT plays really well. They might finish 24-6. I think 22-8 is almost a lock, barring something wild. I agree. I mean, 22-8 is 8-4 the rest of the way, right? So I mean, 24-6 would be what, 10-2, which is definitely a possibility. 22-8 is you're just basically you're going 8-4, so you're winning every remaining series, but just with no sweeps. So do you feel like there's 2 sweeps left in the schedule, Dusty? 24-6 is captain. Yeah, I mean 24-6 is kind of ridiculous. But I think 22-8 is definitely, with the way they've played. It's just like they've swept. And again, if you take back the Clemson loss, you take back that the loss on Sunday to Pitt. I mean, Georgia Tech could be 16-2 right now, which is insane, right? So there's a couple games in there where you're like, man, it's not like they kind of gave away the games. Which that's just credit to how high level Georgia Tech has played. Aaron Stroh, thoughts on Oregon State? To me, Aaron, It's very hard to really tell how good Oregon State is because they haven't played anybody. I know they played Irvine. I know they beat them. But again, they have not played a really good ACC, SEC, and all the good teams they've played. If you look at their RPI, all their Q1 and Q2 records are not very good. So I think just like Oregon State kind of has that. I mean, it's almost like that blue blood hype, to be honest, is kind of what it feels like. It's just like they're not in a conference. So they don't, like, again, if they were in the ACC and the SEC, would they be a middle of the pack team in the ACC or SEC? Maybe, probably. But it's just hard to know how good Oregon State is because when they've played good teams, I mean, they beat Irvine, but when they've played all the other better teams that they've played, they haven't played well. All right, let me catch up on the chat here. If they play really well, yes, absolutely chance at 2 sweeps. Who's the second sweep besides Miami, though, Dust? Is there a point with a high walk ratio where scouts and coaches don't see it as a positive, or is it always considered elite plate discipline? It's always considered elite plate discipline, Buck, but what you're looking for is like if they're hitting for a lower average. Really, if you have an elite walk rate, like I said, 39 walks and 109 at bats, which is just insane. What you're looking for is, okay, are they also slugging? When they do put the ball in play, but you're never going to tell a guy who walks that much. You may say in certain, you may talk to him about certain situations where we want you to be more aggressive because, runners on second and third, no outs. Take your walk if they give it to you, but you get a good pitch. We don't want you to take a fastball down the middle, right? So sometimes those guys can be a little too passive, but it's never going to be looked at as a negative. I'm also assuming that Warren Nolan is predicting us to win 2 out of 3 against Georgia Tech because if that is the case, Georgia Tech would only have 2 more ACC losses. Gulf Coast dominated Chipola last night, 11-2. GC pitcher is FSU commit that shut down Chipola. Nice. Canes, they are 14-4, and if they lose 2 out of 3, they are 15-6, and they have them at 22-8. Yeah, so that would mean you're going 7-2 the rest of the way, which again you would require a sweep. We are 6-9, and they have us at 18-12. So I don't see how they would predict us to lose 2 or 3 to Georgia Tech. 18-12. So they believe that Miami's going to go 12-3 over the rest of the schedule in the ACC. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, Canes. I think 18 wins for Miami is, again, I think that's kind of off the table. Could you find a way to 16-14? Sure. Could you find a way to 15-15? Sure. But 18-12 to me sounds ridiculous. Just to be honest. You guys all suck at math. I don't know how I suck at math. My math was all crisp from what I can tell. 18 wins. We are hosting a regional. Yeah, for sure. But I don't see any way that Miami gets to, again, what you're saying is if Miami gets to 18 wins, what you're saying is they have to play like a totally different team over the rest of the schedule. And in my mind, that just doesn't happen normally. Right. If you make a claim like Dusty's talked to, it's kind of insane, but Georgia Tech could go 24-6. Well, they've played unbelievable all year. So, right. So that, even though that sounds ridiculous, you're like, it could happen with Miami. To me, it's like to go 18-12, they have to play like a totally different team. Georgia Tech to go 24-6, they would just have to play like they've played so far. And even then, it's a little bit of a stretch. I agree, but I posted it to hype the fans up and give them a reason to show up this weekend. You thinking Georgia Tech is regional host lock with one more series win? Yeah, as long as they don't. I mean, as long as they don't get swept like 2 or 3 times. Because I mean, let's just say they lose every remaining series and don't get swept. They're 18-12. If they win 1 and lose 3 that don't get swept, they're at 19-11. I think they're a regional host as long as they don't just like get swept the remaining series. We've been playing like a different team the last week, but Canes, I mean, no offense, but you look at the Florida Atlantic game, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. I think they had less hits than Florida Atlantic, right? And that's not a formula for winning games when you get out hit and you win. That doesn't happen very much. And you guys, I mean, we know this. Like Miami's offense is the thing that's struggling the most. They just can't score enough runs. We're on fire right now, 18-12. You are hosting. We also don't know how long Derek Williams is going to be out. Yep. 16-14, you should also be hosting. I don't agree with that. I think 16-14, I don't know. I don't think so. I think you got to be at least 17-13 to be in the conversation. And even at 17-13, I think it's like kind of dicey. RPI is going to factor, all that stuff, strength of schedule. At 18-12, you're a for sure host in the ACC, for sure. Golden Spike's top 5 right now. Is Burris in there? I don't think so. I think he's had a really good year. I think he's, again, has he had the same year he had last year? No, but has he had an elite year still? Yes, but I don't think he's in the top 5 for Golden Spikes this year. Kyle Lodis, I think, is in there maybe. The thing is, man, like the offensive climate in college baseball right now is so ridiculous. Like Drew Burris, when I played, if he was having the year he had, yeah, he's in the top 5. But now it's just like he's having a very good, he's taking his walks. The thing you have to understand with Burris, just check, Lodis is going 395, 17. Yeah, I mean, he could potentially, like you talking regional and everything, like Lodis could end with 20 home runs. And he's hitting in the high, almost 400, right? And again, it's just Lodi's gaining first round buzz, just crazy. Yeah, I don't think my only thing with him is I don't know if he's I don't think he's a true major league shortstop. So to me, that hurts his draft stock. Now, could he fill in up there? Probably. But is he an everyday shortstop in the big leagues? I don't know. But then again, every clip I see in Major League Baseball is the defense is so bad, I can't even believe it. I mean, it's so bad, I can't even believe it. 16-14 is better than 18-12 in the Big 12 or any other conference. Maybe, but I don't know, man. I don't know. There's so many SEC teams that are going to be like 16-14 that they're going to win out over an ACC team at 16-14. He's not a big league infielder. Totally agree. Now, I think he could. I think he's still you still have time to develop in the minor leagues. I think he could play second. You probably move him. You can move him to the outfield. But I think if there's any question mark about can he play second or short, right? I don't think he can play short at the big league level. If scouts feel like it's he's kind of an average second baseman defensively, or maybe below average, right? Like 45, 40, and then he may have to move to the outfield. I think teams are going to view him as a utility guy who can move. I think teams are going to view him as a utility guy that can move around the field and can be a contributor. So to me, I think that makes him fall to like second or third round, probably third round, in my estimation, unless a team really likes him. So in order to get to 18-12, it means sweep Notre Dame, BC. Yeah, and that's definitely a possibility. Win series against Georgia Tech, NC State, and Virginia, and sweeping one of them. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think Miami, right, if they play well, Lodi's 20 homers is a lock. What the hell are you talking about? Didn't I just say that? He's got 13 homers. We're over halfway through the season. I mean, yeah, he could get 20 home runs. I don't know if it's a lock, but I mean, he definitely could get there. You can't let the national media or SEC talking head convince you that our conference isn't better than these others. No, I think the ACC is a big step ahead of like the Big 12 and the Big 10. 100%. But the SEC is a step ahead of the ACC, without a doubt. They have one. I mean, South Carolina has played really bad, but a lot of people thought they were going to be they were going to be a lot better than they've played. Missouri has just been Missouri, but outside of those two teams, everywhere else has been kind of, it's a tough series no matter where you go. I mean, look what A&M's done the last two series. No, he doesn't have 17. He has 17 doubles. SEC and ACC are the same. That is when head-to-head games come into play. I think the SEC is. I mean, if you look at the RPI, I mean, SEC is a little is ahead of the ACC. Oh shit! Never mind. I thought he had 17 homers. My bad. I told you I've been AWOL. Yeah, you must have been. Yeah, I mean, like if you're let's say like you get to a regional. Let's see, you got 12 games, so it puts you up. I'm trying to do the mental math in my head right now. Got 12 games left in the ACC, so that puts you at 44 games. You got 4 or 5 games that, well, Tech will be a number one, probably will be a top 4 seed in the ACC tournament. So they're going to get a bye or 2 byes. So they'll play like 3 games max in the ACC. So that puts you at 47 games. And then you go into the regional. So ultimately and then you got 4 midweek. So you got like 51 there and then regional 55. So, I mean, Lodi's is going to have maybe 23 more games. So I think at that pace, he probably gets to 20 if he plays like he has so far. But I mean, the question is, has missing this time, is he going to come back a little bit cold or stiff or whatever? Have you seen what Cags is doing in the minors and Nick Kurtz? Yeah, Nick Kurtz is just balling out. He's tearing it up, and he's going to be in the big league soon. I have not seen what Caglione has done. I'll check it out. Let's see what he's doing. Hitting 240, 268, 347. I mean, he's got 40-something at bats, so it's not that. Again, weird thing was last year he had 116 at bats, which is a fifth of the season, and he had 2 home runs. He's got 3 home runs this year through 41 at bats. Slugging 537. He's got, let's see, strikeouts, 11 strikeouts and 41 at bats. He's doing pretty well. But again, I mean, he's in the Texas League. The ball does go pretty well. In AAA, they're using the big league ball, so he'll hit way more home runs there. But I think he's got to you got to watch him over. He is not ready for the big leagues yet because he hasn't even played a full season of minor league baseball yet. You really don't know the type of hitter he's going to be in pro ball yet. As bad as Florida has been, they're still in the top 25 for RPI. Yeah, and that's my point. Is with how the SEC, how the RPI for teams in the SEC is looking, like if you're 16 and 14 in the ACC, again, will you maybe be in a host conversation? At that point, I think an SEC team that's 16 and 14 will win out over you, or some of these mid-majors that are playing really well will win out over you. Amazing that 5 MLB teams passed on Cags. I mean, dude, I understand what you're saying. But I mean, it's amazing how many times these guys don't really pan out, right? And like he's in Double A, right? And he's at 40 at bats. So teams may look stupid a year or two from now. Teams may look really smart a year or two from now. Yeah, I mean, Florida at 25 RPI is just insane. They're 3-12 against Q1 teams. That's the reason. Like, there's a lot of people are coming up with kind of these new. Let's look at strength of schedule. Auburn's at number 1. Yeah, I'm looking at this Warren Nolan prediction. I want to see. All right, so right now, Georgia Tech is predicted to finish by Warren Nolan 23-7. They're projected to finish the year 44-11. Let's see what Miami Canes. I don't know if you're looking at the right thing, man. Miami is projected to on here by Warren Nolan. Miami's projected to finish 13-17. I'm not seeing 18-12. And this is why at 16-14, I don't agree. So look, Warren Nolan has Georgia Tech projected to finish first in the ACC at 23-7, then Clemson at 21-9, Florida State at 20-10, North Carolina at 19-11, Wake Forest at 18-12, even though they're 9-9. So Warren Nolan is projecting Wake Forest to go 9-3 the rest of the way. Louisville's projected to finish 17-13. So how many hosts is the ACC going to have? I haven't mentioned a team at 16-14 yet. The teams they have projected to finish at 16-14 are North Carolina State and Virginia Tech. And I doubt either of those two would be hosts, because they're projected to finish 35-20 and 34-20. So I don't agree that 16-14 is a host in the ACC. I think 16-14 means you are locked in for the tournament. But if you're thinking maybe 4 or 5, I mean, what do you think? 4 or 5 hosts from the ACC? What do you guys think? Maybe 6? Their calculations change every hour. I caught them at the right time last night. Yeah, it says 13-17. They're projected to finish 7-8 the rest of the way. And North Carolina, FSU, and Wake all have the head-to-head over us. Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think Georgia Tech, 23-7 is definitely a possibility, right? That means you're going 9-3 the rest of the way, which is kind of how they've performed. It's definitely possible. That means they have to get one sweep. And then 3 series wins, which is still, I mean, that's still really, that's going to be not incredibly hard, but that's going to be tough because you got good teams you're playing. Best guess of what happened with UCF? They have a good coach and a talented roster. You know, man, it's hard to say. Maybe they kind of were just kind of overperforming early in the year. Having not watched a lot of their games, I can't speak to why they haven't performed as well in conference. So I mean, I don't know. That's the best I can give you, because I'm not going to come up here. I'm not going to sit here and make up something just to make it up. But sometimes teams get the conference play and they just weren't the team they were beforehand. And again, there's good teams. There's good teams in the conference. So it may just be that maybe they underperformed, right? Maybe they just have not been playing as well. I mean, let's go look at their numbers and just see what's kind of fallen off. Because obviously, at a certain point in the year, they had a really elite offense. Pitching was doing well. So as a team, they're still hitting 323. They're not hitting for a lot of power. They have 36 home runs in 36 games, 71 doubles, 11 triples. I mean, they're OPSing over 900 as a team. Not stealing a lot of bags. They have 163 walks in about 1,400 plate appearances. So the walk rate's pretty good. Definitely over 10%. And the pitching's got a 4.22 ERA. So it could just be they're just not winning games, man. Because if you look at these numbers, you're like, oh, they should be. Let's see, they've scored 271 runs in 36 games. So they're hitting 323, and this may be it, but they're not scoring as many runs as you would expect for a team that's hitting for that high an average. Their opposing teams are hitting 248 against them, but they're 4-11 in the Big 12. So it seems like they're really just and here's the other thing. I'm looking at their defensive numbers. The defense is pretty good. They're playing better defense than their opponents. It's hard looking at their numbers to figure out what's going on. They've either lost a lot of really close games, and actually let's just look at their schedule. Because they're scoring about 7.5 runs per game, kind of. So that's decent. And their pitching numbers are good. So I'm not sure how they've lost so many games. Let's go to the Big 12 games. So they beat BYU, but every game was a one-run game. Houston, they lost 2 close games. Cincinnati, they lost by 2 runs, 1 run, and 3 runs. Kansas, they lost 2 games big and 1 game by 1 run. Kansas State, they lost by 2 runs and 2 runs. And then they play TCU this weekend. So UCF's just not winning the close games. That's the issue. They're playing really tight games, and when you play tight games, it can swing one way or the other, and it's swung in a big way towards the loss side of things. So that's what's going on, Zach, is they're just not winning the close games, and they're in a lot of close games. Is JD fired if they miss postseason? Where do we stand on? So Dusty said, wait a second. Canes and Zach, didn't Kyle and I tell you that Miami wasn't terrible? You said the sky was falling. Still a lot of season left. I'm taking it game by game. If we win the series against Georgia Tech and NC State, I will be a believer. Warn the GT players. Canes will be sitting next to the on-deck circle. He is still our coach until we lose one more series. After we lose another series, we are back on the firing him train. Kyle, forgive me if this has been covered over the last week, but what are you hearing on Georgia Tech head coach job? Anyone new? None. Nothing. No one is hearing anything. And that's really weird. And part of that makes me think that, again, D1 baseball hasn't put out a hot board for it. I've never seen D1 baseball. All right, well, let us know, Dust. What are the updates you're hearing? Because I haven't heard anything. All right, I just got an update about Kyle Lodis. Maybe back on Friday. But Dusty, that's the weird thing for me is that D1 baseball, you could say maybe they were giving respect to DH for announcing it, everything like that. But it's been like 3 weeks now, and there's no hot board for the Georgia Tech coaching job. I've heard kind of similar things. If you had those first week and a half of like what potential hires could be, but there's really been nothing. The media isn't covering it. Yeah, Zach, it's really strange. Like there's nobody talking about it. Pay attention to what is happening with other GT sports. J-Bat is finding budget and moving money around. Yeah, and that's kind of what I thought you were going to say, Dust. Like that whole rumor about they want to pay the next guy less than DH was that never made sense to me. I thought that was ridiculous. Especially again, like we talked about, if you're not going to announce, if you're not going to, let's say they don't hire James Ramsey, what kind of candidate are you going to attract to a really good top tier program when you're going to not pay very well at all, right? That just never made sense to me. New women's basketball coach just opened up about 200,000. Yeah. Yeah, so I think I think you're right. They're figuring out a way to get as much money as they can. Who knows what it'll end up being. But in my mind, yeah, I mean, that means they're definitely going to be interviewing guys. And I think we've all known that after the first couple weeks after the announcement. So, Dusty, do you think JR won't be the hire? Baseball is the stepchild of all programs. Yeah, but you know what? It's changing, Canes, because baseball, every year at college baseball, and especially with how bad the product is at the major league level, college baseball is just getting more and more and more popular. Thanks for giving me more ammo if we win this series. All right, so right now, let me mute this. Buzz is still Ramsey, but I think J-Bat will want to have the money if he has the right name. Just my opinion, nothing to formally report. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's something like Ramsey's probably the guy unless they feel like, oh, well, we can't turn this guy down. That's kind of the feeling that I've gotten. Charlie Wilcox, why leave the state and go to GT if they can't even beat Miami and you don't know who the coach is? How is baseball compared to basketball at Georgia Tech? Seems like that basketball program at Georgia Tech is irrelevant. Yeah. It's kind of been that way for a while, just to be honest. But baseball, until the last, there was a long stretch in the mid 2010s where baseball was kind of just okay. And just not meaning they were always kind of in and out of the top 25, but they weren't like top 10 team. How is baseball consolidated some track budget as well? That's how you negative recruit. Is J-Bat going to be making the hire? 100%, Zach. 100%. So right now, let's pull up this stream from D1 Baseball. They're projecting the regionals right now. They have Georgia Tech as a national seed, as the number 7 seed, hosting Kansas State as the 2 seed, and Fairfield as the 4. And I don't know who the 3 is. Also, for what it's worth, the hot word is J-Bat to Maryland, like maybe as soon as this week. Really? Was a finalist for the South Carolina job as well. We'll have to stay tuned to that, Dust, because that could. I mean, that's the thing is, the issue is the reason there's not a lot of information about or any idea. There's not any as much of an idea of who the next head coach is because obviously under Stansbury, Ramsey had basically been given the associate head coach title and had been told he would be the next guy. J-Bat comes in. Doesn't matter what the previous guy tells you. And he's kind of kept it pretty close to the vest. So if there's another, J-Bat is the AD at Georgia Tech games. Deion Cole, why go to Georgia Tech when you can play at Miami with your best friend, Rookie Shepard? You don't know who the coach is, and we just beat them when we are down. So a lot of moving parts. Aaron Fitt. I want to see who they want to put as the 3 seed. Come on, I want to see. Let's turn the volume on. I want to hear who they think.
And Holy Cross has backed that up since we made that projection. They split 4 against Army. They took 2 out of 3 at Bucknell on the road. Take that, Bradley. I don't know if it's Bradley. It's Joe Healy. I think he chose Bucknell. But yeah, I mean, Holy Cross.
I might still lean Holy Cross, but Navy did take a series from the Pards. That's not easy to do.
That's right. But
the other regional projections, let me turn the volume down so I can think. Don't let us win, Kyle and Dusty. I have ammo. Oh, Lord. They have, the only ones I can see are Clemson is the 3 seed. Yeah, Georgia Tech's at 7. Tennessee's at 4. Georgia 5. Auburn 6. Oregon State at 8. To me, that's ridiculous. But I feel like they have to have one West Coast, but I feel like you could go UCLA or Oregon. I don't know. I just don't get the Oregon State. Like, they're not in a conference. They have not played very well. That doesn't mean they're not a good team, but there's nothing really to go off. Get in the D1 chat. And then they have Florida. They have Florida State as not a national seed, but a host. They have North Carolina. But if this is correct, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Florida State, North Carolina are the only hosts. So ACC would have 4 hosts, whereas the SEC certainly will have. So what, it'd be Arkansas and Texas up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the SEC would have 7 hosts. Oregon State must have the media in their back pocket. Yeah, it seems like it. All right, guys, I got to go. I got to get ready for this game. Wish me luck. Got to eat some lunch and then start heading down. Swing over to the D1 chat. Let them know that their boy Kyle's. No, UGA was number 5, Dusty. UGA was at the number 5 overall seed.